We'd like to take a moment to thank all the guests who have checked into DillosDiz Resort over the past month. DillosDizResort.com, your virtual destination for exclusive content, including live streams, Ask Us Anything, behind the scenes, 4 levels, beginning as low as $1. DillosDizResort.com, your virtual destination for exclusive content. On with the show. And now, the top-rated and most listened to sibling podcast about theme parks that drops on a Thursday from the state of New York. Theme Park Thursday with DillosDiz, brought to you by DillosDizResort.com.
Now is the time.
Forever?
Miss Tomorrow.
Old.
About a minute and a half.
Hashtag always MGM.
Step out to your right.
Old.
The
Drink.
secret staircase.
We always do that.
You are approaching the unloading area.
Behold the majesty of the Sistine Ceiling.
For the kids.
A salute to all theme parks, but mostly Walt Disney World.
What a cute ending.
Aloha and welcome aboard.
This is Theme Park Thursday with DillosDiz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank, and we are here officially in the month of March.
Yes. March Madness.
March Madness is here. Hashtag Dillos Madness is here.
It's happening.
We will have more on our first round picks in hashtag Dillos Madness, also known as the DillosDiz My Favorite Thing About Disney Ever This Year March Madness Mania Pool. Also known as the $64 DillosDiz My Favorite Thing About Disney Ever This Year March Madness Mania Pool.
Do you think each year we'll just add a name?
A word?
Yeah.
A title?
Yeah.
What's it, a title? Yeah, something. You know.
Something. Change
We
it
still
up.
haven't. I still got to figure out that $64 gift card, because you could do a $50 gift card. You could do a $75 gift card, a Disney gift card. I guess
Sure.
I should specify here.
Right.
So there's chances are that the gift card will actually be $75.
$20.
$75 instead of $64.
Right.
There's no official contest rules
Mm-hmm.
other than submit your brackets by March 11th, which is next Thursday. So those who have already received the brackets, the dozens of people who have received their brackets for the DillosDiz My Favorite Thing About Disney Ever This Year March Madness Mania Pool know to submit their picks. A lot of them have already, many submitted their picks already.
No, I'm loving the tweets. It's very exciting.
Using the hashtag Dillos Madness, people are submitting their picks, but get yours in by March 11th to enter the contest to win the $50, $64, $75 gift card from Disney. And DillosDiz, of course.
Disney is not sponsoring hashtag Dillos Madness. It's only us. They will not be providing the gift card.
That's right. They are not providing the gift card. We are providing the gift card.
Yes.
Courtesy of DillosDizResort.com, your virtual destination for exclusive content. Jen can't keep a straight face anytime I say it. She can't do it.
Because you dillo it a little bit. There's still even a look in your eye that you're dilloing it a little bit.
Don't look at my eyes when I say it. So last Thursday was particularly a big day for us as we dropped 4 episodes of Theme Park Thursday with DillosDiz. 1 episode for each bracket. We went over the bracket. We reviewed the matchups. And then we appeared as guests on the 250th episode of Rope Drop Radio.
Kind of a big deal.
I mean, it was a little nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie.
And we were dilloing it to each other beforehand because we were like, do they know it's their 250th? Do they want bigger guests? I mean, it's just us.
Should we let them know that we can hold off to 251? Is that
We
okay?
can wait. I don't know.
Derek and Doug are both fantastic.
Yes.
They make you feel right at home.
Oh, yeah.
They got that vibe that we relax.
Yeah.
And we settle right in. Good times. Lots
They're
of
all about the
stories.
tangents, which is how we feel at home.
Yes, the tangents. Anytime we can go on a tangent, we relax on the tangents. Thanks to them for hosting us, and make sure you check them out. Listen, subscribe, leave a review on iTunes for sure.
Do all the things.
We should be doing a better job about reading our Apple Podcast reviews. We don't.
I know. I'm like, that's a really good idea. That's pretty smart of you guys to be doing that.
Oh my God, we can't steal it blatantly yet. Derek and Doug are going to be in the Walt Disney World Resort during the month of March. So if you see them along, we're not jealous. We're not jealous, one. But if you happen to be there and see them along the way, one, make sure you're following. Make sure you're following at Rope Drop Radio. Make sure you're following Derek. Make sure you're following Doug. And then don't stalk them when you're in the parks. No. Just if you happen to pass by, say hello.
Yes, for sure. We were also on Thursday night live with our long lost sibling, Angela Dahlgren, who, as we record this, it's her birthday today.
It is her birthday. Happy birthday, Angela, to the third Dillo sibling. I feel like eventually we're getting to that place now that we're going to have to do she's not actually blood relation, but because they're like, oh, is your married name Dillo? Because they don't even know Cardillo. So then I fear that Angela is just going to get asked all the time if she's actually a Dillo, which she's not.
I mean, it makes sense. We're very famous. So
it's inevitable.
To happen. Yeah, that makes sense.
Certain amount of inevitability involved. Right. But it's also the first anniversary of the Magical Mommy Monday podcast today.
It is very exciting.
You're Dilloing that. You're Dilloing the first anniversary.
We were actually, so here's what's exciting. So, I mean, there's many things exciting. Very exciting. It's Angela's birthday. Very exciting. It's our 1 year anniversary. We also, yesterday, as this drops, are releasing a new weekly live stream called The Gray Area, where we discuss the entire series of Grey's Anatomy, starting with episode 1. And I was talking to Angela earlier about it, and we said we were going to get it out today and, start promoting. I completely forgot until about 7 o'clock. And then she was like, oh yeah, we got to do that. I feel like I Dillo it or I forget. And I don't know. So it's already getting around that this whole idea of Dilloing things. But
that's right. And as we talked about on the Dillo sibling reunion with Angela over on our YouTube channel, it's not necessarily going to be one episode each live stream. It's on occasion you'll bundle. You'll do one of the bundles, as they say.
Because there's like 16 seasons. So I mean, I don't think we could do episode by episode, but the first one will just be the first episode ever, which I watched the other day for the first time ever, because I had never gotten into Grey's Anatomy.
No, I haven't seen a single episode of Grey's Anatomy. Yes. So I'm also very curious by the whole concept of it, especially that's been around for this long. So, I mean, the popularity was off the charts.
It's weird that I haven't. Mr. Snidillo is watching with me. He's like, how'd you never get into this? This is so up your alley. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. The Gray Area happens over on Angela's YouTube page, which, we're big fans of. And we try to push her to do some more. So youtube.com/Angela Dahlgren is where you can find that.
And we also talked about Angela's trip on the Dillo sibling reunion over on our YouTube channel. So make sure you hit up Angela on Twitter or the IG, the Instas, whatever it is, and say you want to see content from Angela's upcoming trip to Universal Studios. The people are demanding it. Angela needs to hear from more people.
That's right. Agreed.
So we have a guest this week, and our guest is probably the first time really that we've tackled the cruise lines.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because I've never been on a Disney cruise. You have been on one Disney cruise.
Yes.
But we know a lot of entertainers who have been on Disney cruises. Mm-hmm. And in this particular case, this person, Mr. Drew Boudreau, was a production stage manager and also a performer on 3 Disney cruise ships. So he has a lot to offer here. Mm-hmm. We're going to ease in slowly because Mr. Drew Boudreau is a former student of mine.
I want all the stories, all of them.
Back from my college teaching days.
Yes.
Drew is here to not only talk about his roles on Disney cruise ships, but his life in improv and what he's doing now with a company called College Audition Pros, where he preps many a high schooler for auditioning at theater departments across the globe.
That's awesome.
So we'll be right back with Drew and all the shenanigans to be had for sure.
Thursday night, March the 4th, 2021, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at youtube.com/DillosDiz. Jen and Frank reveal their picks. Who will advance to the second round in the DillosDiz My Favorite Thing About Disney Ever This Year March Madness Mania Pool? Hashtag Dillos Madness.
We recorded 20 minutes before, like at 8 o'clock, and I was like, let's just do a quick open just so to set ourselves. And then, of course, both of our connections were terrible, and so I'm like, great, now I got to edit for an hour about 20 minutes of conversation. Great.
I have to say, Drew, that I know you from TikTok.
Oh no, really?
So here's what happened. So Frank and I both have access to the DillosDiz TikTok. I would say I do about 99% of the TikToks, and then Frank does one every once in a while. So sometimes I go through the who we're following list just because I have accidentally followed people sometimes. So I'll like hit the plus and I didn't mean to. So sometimes when I see new names, I'm like, who is this? Who is this person? Do we mean to be following them? And I clicked on yours. I'm like, no, you definitely know him. Oh, we know him somehow. But now, like, you show up on my page, so I see you more often.
That makes me so happy.
You're a TikTok superstar.
Listen, I had a singular specific goal when I started TikTok. I said, I want to be Broadway internet famous, which has so many qualifiers in front of it. It means not that famous, just famous enough that at Broadway Con, I get 3 teenagers who go, are you a TikTok guy? And that's good. I'm fine. I'm happy.
Is that you? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, to talk about what you've been doing on the TikTok, as I say, because I'm older now, Drew. I'm not as young as I was when I was teaching you at Stony Brook University. So talk a little bit about what you've been putting up there.
Oh, it's great. It is the medium that I have been waiting for. I never liked YouTube. I never felt like I could compete with YouTube. And in my brain, I always had like, oh, what a good bit. What a good bit. But there was no place to put a bit. There was no place to put, like, Vine never quite took off. Yeah. And also 6 seconds is too short for some bits. Right. And so I was like, I need a place for a bit. TikTok comes along because my 8th graders, when I was teaching 8th grade, they turned me on to TikTok. And I was like
they do.
Yeah. But of course, their version of TikTok is what it's really built for, which is like hot people, people who don't have a belly like I do, going like, I'm lip syncing to a dance. And I was like, but what if I use it for jokes instead? And I started this series that I don't really do anymore called How to End a Musical in the First Scene. And so I started with Grease. Where they say, hey, Danny, did you meet any girls this summer? And Danny simply says, no. Dun, 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 dun. And I was like, oh, God, if you are, in your 200th production of Grease and you just want to go home, what a way to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I started I've been playing Great News Adam Pascal since college. Where we make each other sing a riff of a classic musical theater line as Adam Pascal, and I put it on TikTok, and it really took off. And so I've been doing that a lot. And then when I went on tour with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, my buddy Paul does a great Dr. Frankenfurter. And so I said, God, we got to film this Frankenfurter applying for regular jobs. And, so we filmed one where he was applying to be an accountant, and it really took off. And then just, I don't know, a month ago, we filmed one for him applying for a job at KFC, and that got over 500,000 views. Oh my God. And it took me from about 15,000 followers to 25,000 followers in the span of about 2 months. And now I try and post new stuff, and they're like, bring back the Frankenfurter stuff. I'm like, no, I'm more than just that.
I'm more than that guy.
No, you put me in a corner. No. As you can tell, as happens every time when you pull up TikTok, the volume goes to 100. So I just went to check how many followers you had. Yeah. And then they get blasted with the TikTok volume. Half of the reason why I don't go on TikTok.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's it. That's it. That's
and
it.
I was like, 25,000 followers. We started out of the gate strong and got to like 5,000 followers right away. And then the pandemic hit, and we're like, and now we can't get it back at all. We lost it somewhere.
Well, and then like the algorithm changed. So now we used to like stay steady. Like all of our videos would get like 650 views, unless we like really did something. Then it would go bigger. But it was like, all right, well, that's our norm. Now our norm is like 150. Congratulations. Like, what happened? What happened to our views? Where did it go?
It's so frustrating, especially when you put out something that you know is so good. It's either really helpful, very valuable, extremely funny, and you're like, this is gonna kill. Here comes the pepper. And you let it loose, and they're like, haha.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know as soon as I'm like editing and it's like something's getting messed up and it's taking too long, I'm like, forget it. This is taking too long, which means it'll get 3 views. Forget it. I need to do something in 1 second. It makes no sense, but that's what hits.
Dude, that is the freaking worst, because you're like, I am unappreciated in my time. You like me falling over a rake and hitting myself. I want to give you, classical theater, but you want this. All right, I'll give you this stuff.
Yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
I get it, man. I did one video that I made on the fly, and I dropped it at a time of day where you're not supposed to get any views. I just made it to make it. It was just about me pointing out the incongruities of the timeline of Beauty and the Beast, where it's like she's gone for a year, or it's like a couple of days. Like, who knows? And I just made it, and I was like, whatever. And like, I checked an hour later, it's like 10,000 views, and then it got up to 400,000. And I was like, yeah, but what about my really good Bernie Sanders impression? No one? Fine, great.
So glad I've been working on that.
10 years of drama school, fine.
Yeah.
Let's pick them apart about drama school. Really, it's going to be pick on me about drama school, I think.
God, I love it. I love this.
So when Drew was in college.
When I was in college, so I had Frank's, it wasn't like it was like theater lit, I guess.
Yeah, or play analysis.
Play analysis, yeah.
One of those two, yeah.
So we read, I only remember 2 plays we read. I remember that we read A Doll's House and Butterfinger's Angel.
Of course. Of course you did.
But I don't remember any of the other plays that it was only a 16-week course. And I remember really, really I remember how much I loved the course. I loved the course. And like, I had to like Hermione Granger check myself, because like I was raising my hand every time he asked a question. I was like, shut up. And I really, really liked it. And the way that you taught class was so engaging. I really, really appreciated that when you would ask a question, there would be a natural 10-second silence, as there is for any class, because people don't know what they want to ask yet. And it never felt like an awkward defeat as a camp for a teacher. Like, I know that when I ask a question to a class and there's silence, I'm like, oh God, I stink. And it felt great. And I remember there was one kid in the class, and it was his first drama class. And you and him would go toe to toe, because he would keep challenging you. Like, you would say, yeah, but then Nora's doing this. And he's like, yeah, but that's really stupid. She shouldn't do that. And it was such like an open forum for play discussion that was so healthy for 101 audiences.
I don't remember that. I don't remember getting challenged. I block all the stress out of it.
Of course you don't. What? I got challenged? No, that's not me. That never happened.
Yeah. I remember every kid bringing me fruit baskets.
Yeah, exactly. I have a question, because my timeline's a little fuzzy, because I'm so much younger than Frank, so I get confused with time. Did you already have your MFA in dramaturgy by then, by the point that you were teaching, or did you do it at the same time?
That is correct. I had my MFA in dramaturgy.
He drops it on every episode, so.
I make sure I mention my education history here on Theme Park Thursday with DillosDiz. But you were in Florida, Jen, so we could not start a podcast way back then.
Because there weren't podcasts way back then.
There weren't pods back then.
Right.
There were pods. There were podcasts. Exactly. Right. It was about a pod was like an alien thing. That's all.
Yeah.
But Drew was in that play analysis class, I remember. And yeah, the Butterfingers Angel, Jen knows, because she's been hearing me talk about this play for 25 years. I got out of class in UCF. Butterfingers Angel, Mary and Joseph, Herod the Nut, and the Slaughter of 12 Hit Carols in a Pear Tree. William Gibson play. William Gibson wrote The Miracle Worker. That's the short version. So it's like a side on Christmas.
Right.
but it's like everything you want in theater, basically. And in one little, you want a little bit of I'm going to put it in quotes, mythology,
Yeah.
reality, but played all the biblical characters in a realistic light. And it's very dark. I like the darkness, Jen.
I do. I'm the light of the podcast, Drew. So
Well, I gotta tell you, Frank, it is because of that class. You may be responsible for several of my students getting into their dream schools, because Mary's monologue to Joseph, once she realizes she has to carry the Christ, and she goes back to Joseph and says, no, you have to let me marry you. You have to take care of me, is such a good monologue, because she is such a strong person. We know who her scene partner is. We know what her goal is. We know what her obstacles are. It's such a complete 3-act play within a monologue. I give that to at least one kid a year, and it always sits so nicely with them, and it's such a nice piece.
Yeah, the play in general. It's so underrated, and I wish they would do it more in life. But let's stop gushing on me for a second and talk about, Drew, when you took my improvisation class, and the second half of the semester, we turned the campus into our own Hollywood Boulevard at #AlwaysMGM. And everyone in the class took on an occupation that you might find, say, in Streetmosphere at the studios. And we did that for the second half of the semester, and that was it. It's amazing. I had a job for 3 more years after that. What do you remember, Drew?
I will tell you exactly what I remember, because it is so ever present. And the reason is, and this is not insignificant, it was the year before Borat came out. Oh. And here's how everything ties in. So I remember the first 2 weeks we were doing indoor improv. And it was like the basics of improv. I mean, it was a real fast crash course in yes-anding, right? And then we went and did Streetmosphere, and everyone was like the actor, the agent, the manager, the producer, the screenwriter, someone involved in the production of a movie or something. And we were interacting with ourselves, interacting with guests, with other students. And I remember the first couple times, the adrenaline was very high and people didn't quite know what to do. And I think it was the third time people began to either get self-conscious or they didn't know what to do. And I remember you walking past me and you were like, all right, everyone inside. I'm so bored right now. I'm so bored. Because no one was engaging with anyone.
That's his anger coming out. That's his anger coming out. Like, forget it. This isn't going the way I want. Everyone inside.
Round it up.
And what I remember about that, it was such a good lesson in exploring something that, because I didn't give a lot of credence to Streetmosphere, Ren Fair improvisation. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then after doing it, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is hard. to play a consistent character, a real 3-dimensional character, like not playing just stakes, not playing just circumstances, like playing a real character. Wow, this is hard to maintain. And I remember a year later, Borat came out and people were talking about, you want to give him the Oscar for Best Actor? And I remember being like, yes, yes, because that is incredibly difficult to do, to maintain your character throughout while scripting yourself. Whoa! Yeah.
Yeah, so we did that the second half of the year, and like it was a fun experiment. It was definitely something I wanted to try, and if it caught on, great, and if it didn't, it wasn't the end of the world. Jen, because you know a lot of the citizens of Hollywood now, you've met them along the way here on Theme Park Thursday. Can you guess where Drew's place was based on the actors that we have talked to about Streetmosphere?
He was Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead. I was giving
gonna
you a moment. Go ahead.
Finish your question so I answer
that's the
appropriately.
question. You're going to answer the question correctly. I know you are.
I think he was a Louis.
Totally, Louis Gravans.
Yeah.
Drew, if you don't know who Louis Gravans is, just go follow him on the socials. You'll know he wrote this incredible book last year called "Service is a Superpower" because he did traditions. He led traditions in Walt Disney World for a long time. Did Street Mo, but he's that MC, take charge. Gather people by the sound of their voice kind of person.
Yeah.
That is where I put you.
That is very flattering, Frank. I am so touched. Thank you.
Yeah, it takes 15 years for the compliments, Drew. So
he'd never tell you that as a student, but now you'll get it.
Oh my God. This is a sidebar tangent real quick, but you remember Katie, right? I gave her such a hard time in college, but when she did Juliet, like I actually after the performance, I hugged her and told her how proud I was of her. And this was after I stopped teaching, and I think she just didn't know what to. She was like, "What? Who are you?" Right? She just, I think I destroyed her by giving her a compliment. I was like, I really need to compliment my students more.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. I do need to talk about this for a minute since we're sidebarring here, because Frank and I often talk about how we're so emotional, we're unemotional. So we don't, it's hard to be like, good job, congratulations. Should we hug? I don't know. We're very much those people. So it is interesting to think of you as a teacher and to be your student. I mean, did you give positive feedback ever? I mean, did you?
I think I gave both sides. Maybe Drew can confirm.
That was good. That was good. I just leaned back in your chair. Yeah, that's
true.
Good.
I mean, you can confirm this a little bit better than I.
I mean, because I never had you as an acting teacher or director, but Jessica Rabbit would tell me what went on in your classes, and most of them were like, she would share with me the interesting stuff, the dramatic stuff, the dangerous mind stuff, not the regular stuff. So she would tell me how there was a kid in class and he wouldn't do it. So Frank said, just do it. Fail. Just fail gloriously. Just do it. And you'll fail better each time. And I was like, yeah, all right.
That's the motivation you get.
I wonder why I'm not teaching anymore. No, and definitely, there was too much of baseball coach in me or something like that couldn't separate. But I would compliment. I don't know if people ever bought it when I complimented. And I mean, that's a variety of reasons, my tone, whatever, my own insecurity of trying to sound genuine. Now we're going to go off on my psychoanalysis here for a second, but also when any acting teacher, professor, whatever, in your theater, when they give you, when my directors would talk to me and say good things, I'd be like, get out of here. You're full of it. You're just trying to keep me motivated. That's all you're doing right now. So,
well, I think it's healthy. I really think it's healthy to have someone like you and Val Anzafro, because most of your focus is just on crafting the work, and then the the affirmation is sort of trickled in, and that is enough for me to go, I feel like I'm doing good work and I'm getting affirmation. Okay, that's cool. I think any more affirmation than that, I begin to be suspicious, like you said.
Right. Yeah. See, Jen, see, it wasn't all. No, and that's, I'm always the guy in the back of the room,
Yeah.
And I could be crying, but you wouldn't know because I'm in the last row.
That's
and I
true.
could be tearing up at the work you're doing right now, but because I'm like this,
Yeah.
you think I'm
You look like you're hating it.
That I will say is absolutely true. You could be delivering the end of Hamlet, you know what I mean? Good night, sweet prince. And everyone else is sobbing, you're pouring your guts out, Frank's dying inside, but it'll be like, good work.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So funny.
What Jen's doing there is an impression of my father, and she's saying that I am exactly like my father.
This is a lot of psychoanalysis. Can
Drew,
we get
we're here
Drew back
to talk
on
about your career.
track about him and not you?
All right. So how far, right? Sharp left turn.
Here we go.
How far from when you finished school to when because you worked at Disneyland first after school before you did the cruise line, right?
Yeah. So I graduated Stony Brook in 2007. And really quickly after that, I flew back to California because I had no plan. Like, I had not thought past May 27th of 2007. And then I graduated and I was like, oh, I got to keep going. Oh, no. And so I was like, I guess I got to move home. And I came out of college as a stage manager. And so I flew home, and there was a community theater where I was called the Maverick. And I volunteered to be their stage manager. But they'd obviously never had like a college trained stage manager before, because I was like gaff taping down cables and making, taping out the prop table and call time and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, what is this? So I ended up being their only employee. They ended up paying me like $400 a week just to run the theater. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I got hired at Disneyland as an ASM on the Aladdin show in California Adventure. And I ended up at that particular show because I had theatrical experience. Other stage managers who maybe had parade experience would do like the smaller shows. Mm-hmm. But this was a multi-million-dollar show with lots of moving parts. And it was an incredible feat. It ran like clockwork for 10 plus years. And there were, very, very small but significant snafus along the way. But 99.9% of shows just ran so smoothly. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe the efficiency of everything. It was my first foray into corporate theater. And I have to say, just so you kind of know what the backstory is on all of this is, I really enjoyed stage managing at Stony Brook because I got the chance to work with, an incredible creative team, either my students or guest directors, faculty directors. But in my heart, once I got out of college, I really wanted to go back to performing. But I was like, boy, does that seem scary. And I had it in my mind that if I didn't have a performer's degree, if I didn't take a lot of acting classes and I didn't have those letters, then I'd be out of my league. And so I said, well, I guess I have to be a stage manager. So when I was at Aladdin, I was really unhappy because I'm helping all these people do the thing that I wanted to do. And I didn't have the guts to just actually try and do it. So I stayed in the shadow and I was helping people. And I wish that if I could have gone back, I seen it with fresh eyes and not through that filter of like, oh man, I gotta go to work today at the world's biggest provider of family entertainment globally, worldwide, again. You know what I mean? But now, 10 years removed from it, I can really see what a cool job it was. Yeah.
I mean, I say because I similarly, I stage managed a lot when I was in undergrad and when I was in community college first, because I had to stop playing baseball and start doing theater. They literally, and I don't know if it's because they just saw how I was because I was a baseball player. Like I was always bigger picture. That they were like, we're not going to cast you in the show. Go stage manage because we want you to learn how to be a director. And so that was my way in. So I always liked kind of working behind a director kind of thing, because I think the stage manager often, in a professional setting gets lost as they call the cues and they wear the headset and their business. But, when you're learning it, it's that wider scope of theater that you're really getting along that way. And to your point, like it's very easy to go, like I would say, stage management is my fallback. When I'm not going to audition a lot because I know I can get a job, at a theme park. I worked at Universal as a production. So I did that too, because, it's a little more money and it's a little more secure. So that it's an interesting thing to be like, the stage management, I think, is underrated because of how the perception is, but it's such a great way to really get fully immersed in a theater production.
That's absolutely true. You really begin to see all the moving parts. If you're an actor or you're a designer, you're focused on one very specific task and doing that very well. As a stage manager, I think even more than the director, once the show is up and running, you have so many more moving parts to worry about in terms of production design, costume and light and sound and story. Like you can't lose the storytelling in the midst of all the tech. So you're wearing two hats, like tech and artistic as well.
Yeah. Growing up in Southern California, did you go to Disneyland a lot as a kid, or was it just there? No, not really.
No, because the only way that you could really swing that is if you had what do you call it, an annual pass, and those were always way too out of our price range. So I didn't start going to Disneyland until I started working at the park, and that's when I really started appreciating it. When I jumped on the cruise ships, that's when I really started appreciating it, because the cruise ship was a wholesale different experience. My attitude was the same. I want to be a performer, but I'm not. Boo-hoo. But the experience was different because I wasn't making $13 an hour and having to work holidays and with actors who I felt were ungrateful, and there was no magic. And I think that's the biggest thing, is there's something to be said for Disney magic, which is real and palpable, and I love it. And when you're a stage manager at the park, you don't experience it because you don't work with guests. On the cruise line, you have a very finite amount of space that you can move in. So you are face to face with guests no matter where you're going. And so if you're going from the mess hall to your cabin, you're going to walk by a little girl who just got her Cinderella dress. You're going to walk by a little boy who's dressed as Woody. You're going to walk by a kid who's eating popcorn because he just came from the show. And you're like, magic is real and it's wonderful and I love it here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
You worked on the 3 different ships, right? So let me see if I get it right without looking.
Okay.
Magic, the Wonder, and the Fantasy.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, so I came on board. I went directly from Aladdin to the cruise line as a stage manager, and I was getting out of a really bad breakup, and I was like, "Where can I go? Into the ocean. That's far. I can go there." And so, change of scenery was nice, and I landed first on the Wonder. And the first 2 weeks, I mean, taking a new job is always, there's a set of challenges, a learning curve. Taking a new job in a new place, that's even more. Taking a new job in a place that is detached from the rest of the continents is much different. And so I had 2 weeks to learn ship life and shows. And both of those are 2 different skills. So my first cruise director said, after I'd been on the job for a few months, he's like, you understand that for the first 2 weeks, you just looked like you were a deer in headlights. And I guess I looked a little overwhelmed. And I stage managed 5 shows in 5 days on the Wonder. It was from Los Angeles down to Cabo San Lucas with a few stops along the way. Welcome Aboard, the Golden Mickeys, Disney Dreams, Toy Story the Musical, and the Goodbye Show. And here's why I think cruise line entertainment gets such a bad rap. Like, everyone talks about, well, in the real world theater, it's much harder. Oh, you did cruise ship stuff, blah, blah, blah. Hey, how about you do 5 hour-long, different hour-long shows a week? Like, that is some tough stuff. As a stage manager, it's difficult. As a performer, are you kidding me? How hard is that? Like, good God. It's so much work. I jumped over to the Match, which was ported out of New York City, out of Manhattan, that went to Halifax and somewhere, St. John in Canada. And it did 8 days. It went down to the Caribbean, stopping for a day in Orlando. So everyone got to go to Disney World and then get back on the ship. So it was 4 shows over the course of 8 days. So if there's no show, I'm not working. And so it was a pretty sweet gig. And it's an entertainment company. Disney is an entertainment company first and cruise line second. And so it felt really good to have, to feel so supported in a way that was different than the parks. And then the last leg of this story is then they transferred me to the Alaskan side with the Wonder. So we did the Inside Passage for a few months, and it was just miraculous.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, is that would you pick that one over the other 3, like of the
if I had to, yeah. Because what's nice about it is, so there's no kids on it because what kid is like, oh, sweet, the quiet solitude of the inside passage. Let's go, mom and dad. Because Alaska and Canada have certain natural preserve laws where when you're going through the inside passage, you can't blast movies on deck. You can't blast loud music. Right. It's silent on deck. You're moving at about 2 knots while a naturalist is very quietly going, if you look to your left, you'll see a moose. And on your right, 2 mooses. And it's lovely. You're not doing that much work. And it's all American ports. So your cell phone works. The internet is good. And there's no peddlers on the dock being, buy my junk, buy my junk, buy my junk.
Sure. What years were you on the Wonder the first time around?
The first time I was on the Wonder was most of 2012.
What?
Yeah, with
Drew, you just reminded me that there is a Facebook post that Jen was on a cruise that you guys were all in the same place, and there's a third person in that scenario.
That's right.
So just remembered, it just blew up in my head. I wonder who the third person was. I'll have to think.
What was the itinerary, Jen?
Wait. I went for my 1 year anniversary, so it was January 2013. I was on.
I was on the Wonder then.
You were? Okay. So I did out of Miami, Key West. Key, and which I was so happy about because I love Key West, so it's just like an excuse to go there again. And then I think Coco, and then I think that was it. Maybe just 2 stops. I think it was just 2 stops because it was a 4-night, I think.
Well, out of Miami, we would do Castaway Key, Key West.
What did I say? Coco? What is that? Royal
Coco.
Caribbean? Shame on me.
Whoa.
Castaway. How dare I?
This is the kind of cruise line where the performers get you drinks, lady, all right?
Such a fraud talking about Disney cruises. Yes. Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot about Miami because I was on that cruise. Miami is a pile to get in and out of because it's the busiest cruise ship port in the world. Mm-hmm. And so security is at Supermax, and they have those things, I don't remember what they're called, where only X many crew members can get off the ship in your home port. Mm-hmm. That's it, because they don't want 30,000 people in a port at one time. And also, it's not that friendly walkable. Like, that port is not near a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But Key West is my favorite port out of any one we've ever been to. It was so nice.
Yes. And I had been previously 2 or 3 times, but not by a cruise. So it was kind of cool to do it this way and then be like, I gotta go get back on my Disney boat now. Thanks. And I think we did it out of Miami probably because it was the most affordable cruise.
Well, I mean, it's usually January, super off season, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, we loved it and have been itching to go back ever since. But
good.
So funny about that Facebook post. Now I have to look for it.
Yeah, because it's true. It's I wonder who the third person was, because it was 3. It's like 3 different people from 3 different parts of my life are on the same cruise ship right now, something like that. Yeah, that's hilarious.
I remember that post, and that's right. Oh, that's nuts.
So funny. I'm gonna be on the case, so talk amongst yourselves.
So then, how long after you stopped doing the stage management stuff did you pitch the improv company to perform on there?
So I was calling the Golden Mickeys in maybe May of 2013. So if you're not familiar with live Disney shows, live Disney musicals, they're just a hit parade with a very thin plot to get from song to song to song. People want to hear Part of Your World. They want to hear Almost There, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some very thin plot where it's usually some individual, mostly a girl, who doesn't have belief in herself, and she learns to believe in herself. Right. And in this case, the plot is there's an award show, and the stage manager is a character who just wants to be a performer but doesn't have the guts to do it. So there I am in my stage manager booth, and the finale is always, she's like, I'm brave, I'm stepping into myself, I'm going to be on stage. So every single time this happened, there was this tear that rolled out of my eyeball that I had to suck back into my face. And finally, after like 18 months of it, I was like, I can't take it anymore. So I decided that day, that night, I took my headset off and I walked in my cruise director's office and I said, the next time we go back to home port, I am quitting and I am leaving. And he was this big, jolly South African man. And he was like, yes, live your life, do what you must do. And I was like, thanks. And so I had a week left and I said, hey, as long as I'm here, and it just so happened there were 3 fleet-wide cruise directors on the same cruise for business. And I was like, before I leave, can I just pitch my improv company to you? And they were like, yeah, sure, why not? And I had made a demo for them and they watched it and they said, okay, cool. Thanks for letting us know. And then this is magic. Okay. So I leave. I go back to Los Angeles and I shout out to the world, I'm an actor, and nobody cared. And so I open backstage and there's this post for Oklahoma at Sierra Repertory Theater, which is up in Northern California. It's a small equity company. And I was like, I haven't auditioned for a musical in 10 years, but this is what I feel like I must do in my heart. And I sent in a tape and wouldn't you know it, the guy playing Ali Hackham had dropped out the day before and they said, can you be here tomorrow? We open in 2 weeks. And I'm getting chills just talking about that because I'm like, this is the higher power saying, yes, this is what you must be doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm in rehearsal for Oklahoma. We open. The day after opening night, Disney Cruise Line calls us and says, yeah, we want you. And I was like, my life is amazing. And our first cruise, so that was in late July of that same year. So like I was still calling shows in May. By July, I was back on as an entertainer. And we did our first show on the Alaskan route because it was summertime on the Wonder. And it was great. I like this homecoming. I knew everyone. I knew all the crew, all the cast, some of the frequent guests. You know, some people spend their retirement savings buying cars and houses, and some just cruise for several years on Disney Cruise Line. Right. And so there was a girl.
Life.
Oh man, it's great. There was this lady who just had, several $100,000 and she was disabled and she just lived on the cruise ship. And so I came back on. She's like, oh, Drew, we're calling a show tonight. It's like, no, I'm entertaining. She's like, oh, I'll be there. And we had our first shot and we go into the cruise director's office after our show and they go, so how do you think it went? Which is the worst question to get from an acting teacher or a boss. And we're like, good, bad, I don't know, you tell us. And we look and there are 2 pieces of luggage from another team of guest entertainers. And I'm like, that's weird. Guest entertainers don't leave luggage in the cruise director's office. And I'm beginning to, and they say, can you come back next week? I'm like, oh, they were fired. Once again, this is amazing. So because those 2 guys got fired, we just got booked for 5 more cruises. So we did it off and on 2013, 2014, 2015. Oh, wow. We are not cruise line fare. I will say that out loud because everyone knows it. What do you have? Hypnotists, ventriloquists. On Carnival and Royal Caribbean, you have comedians. You have magicians. I think those are the big things, right? Improv comedians, not a real big thing for cruise ships because there is that element of maybe it doesn't go right. You know what I mean? Like you can have a bad night. So every gig we got, we were just filled with gratitude because as we're in the dining room eating like our 4th round of creme brulee paid for by Bob Iger, we're like, we should be here.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the ultimate in high stakes, right? Improv's always high stakes, but now you're on a cruise line where improv is probably not, the most likely to not hit every time. And
sometimes we had to, and we did have some idiot-proof stuff that we built in, that we masqueraded as improv. There's one game that improv is known for called the Game-O-Matic, which is the last game of the night, where we say, sir, what are your initials? FC. Okay, great. We're each going to make up a game based on the initials FC. Now, the game titles we do make up on the spot, but the games themselves are games we've played a million times, but it looks like it's made up. There's one game that we play called Texts from Last Night, which is a great game. I encourage everyone to play it. Frank and Jen can say whatever they want in the scene. Drew is limited to whatever are the text messages in this audience member's cell phone, right? And normally it just kills. I get a cell phone from an old man in the back, and he hasn't set up his cell phone yet. So his only single text message is, welcome to AT&T. And I'm like, oh no, I have to work tonight.
This is it. This is the end.
Yeah.
With welcome to AT&T.
Improv, schmimprov, not shrimp.
Improv. I always throw the R in there. Oh, every time I
Yeah,
read
I know.
I don't know.
We played a college one time. I think it was University of Tampa, and they had our dressing room all set up, and they had a big poster in the green room that said, welcome shrimp prov, and there was a giant animated shrimp laughing. And I was like, that's great.
There it is.
Perfect. Exactly. Our logo. Thank you.
Improv. Yeah, that's my, I feel like I should learn for years getting announced in baseball games, like, oh, the scouts are here today. And then, you hear the PA announce, like, coming to the plate, Frank Cardio.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody's going to know who I am when I introduce myself later.
Right.
Oh.
I'm not Cuban.
Yeah, and exactly. They're like, oh, well, who's this guy? And it's like me, skinny 140-pound me coming to the plate. Like,
Pale, blue eyes.
Hi, I can hit the ball well, but probably not who you're looking for.
Can I tell you my favorite memory of
Please.
making magic on the ship?
Please.
Yes.
Okay, so there was a child with special needs. He was maybe 4 or 5, and it was our one and only Pixar cruise. So Pixar, even though it's owned by Disney, has its own autonomy, right? And so we're like, hey, can we have Pixar costume characters on the ship? Because our itinerary was LA to San Francisco and back. And so since Pixar is located up there, we thought that'd be cool. We're like, yeah, sure. So, the whole array of Pixar characters are on, and this little boy, we find out, loves Woody. Loves Woody. Like, he told one of the members of the crew staff. And so we hear about it, so we make sure he's first in line to meet Woody in the atrium. And Woody already has, like, a signed headshot, like, to Jade from Woody. Here you go. And, he loses his mind. And then Toy Story the musical was that night. And we're like, we got to do something cool. It's me and the Jolly Guy. And so we say, here's what we'll do. We will work with the usher to make sure that kid gets in first so he has front row seats. And we'll work with the choreographer to change what he's blocking so he comes down off the stage into the front row to sing his solo to the kid. Part 1. Part 2. We work with merchandise. And we say, hey, let's buy this Woody doll from the store. It has Andy's name painted on it. That won't do. His name's not Andy. So we work with props backstage who paints over Andy's names and writes his name instead. That's part 2. Part 3, we give the Woody doll to housekeeping, who puts it on his bed. So when he comes back from Toy Story, there's his Woody doll with his name on it.
Oh man, well, don't make me cry. What?
I feel like crying right now too.
I can't. I can't handle that story.
Awesome. That's so
It
good.
was just amazing.
So
Yeah.
good. So good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cross departmental Disney magic. That's good
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
All the working pieces. It's nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
What
So
am I doing with my life? Why am I not making Disney magic every day?
luckily for you here in the pandemic, your new endeavor carries on here with College Audition Pros. Tell everyone a little bit about it and just all the good you've been doing in the world, really.
Oh, shucks. So, starting when I got off the ship, and I started teaching at OSHA. That's the Orange County School of the Arts. You may know of it because Matthew Morrison and Krista Rodriguez and Lindsay Mendez are graduates of OSHA. And I started teaching acting there, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I can do more. And I really had not a great college audition experience because I didn't have people who knew what they were doing. They were like, apply to Emerson and Syracuse. That's the ticket. And I was like, no more? No more. Okay. And so I was like, this can probably be easier. So anyway, what we do now is it's very, very well run and it's very beneficial for students and their parents who, it's their first time helping their kids into college, definitely helping a theater kid in college, which is a whole nother kettle of fish. So what we do is just from the beginning, how do we reduce anxiety, but also increase confidence, in this process, in the crazy process. So like starting with finding schools that maybe are off your radar because they don't have the brand name. They're not the University of Michigan or NYU, and maybe they're affordable and maybe they have great training, but you just don't know about them because you're not a theater person. Right. Finding their schools, helping them pick monologues and songs. And the key word is helping them pick them, not picking them for them. Right. And then we coach their monologues and their Shakespeare and their songs. And we film so when you and I were applying for schools, we walked into campus and said, here's my audition. Now kids have to send in pre-screen videos to be considered to audition in person. And so we help them film their pre-screens. We do all the editing and stuff. And then we do a full-on mock audition. And I say this every time. A high school audition and a Broadway audition have more in common than a college audition does, right? Mm-hmm. High school audition and Broadway audition, the director's working with you for 3 weeks probably. And then you're out of their hair. And if you're a jerk, whatever, are you good for that part? Yeah, okay. College audition, I got to work with you and I have to be a mentor to you for 5 days a week for 4 years. It's a whole different set of criteria. Yeah. So we try and make sure that they poop their pants in our studio so that it doesn't throw them in the first room where it actually counts. Right. And we travel with them to the Unifieds, New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, so that when they're auditioning for 30 schools all in the same 3 days, they can come up to us, cry about how no one understands them and like their parents won't get off their back, find their artistic center, and then go in and kick butt. Mm-hmm. And so we're just holding their hand for a year. Yeah. And at first, I got to say, it was just an easy way to make a buck. And now it has become something I just feel so strongly about is like these people, these students and their parents are lost in just a sea of misinformation. Right. And now it's like, it's become a mission of like, how can I take care of you? How can I make this easy for you? And I just love it.
That's amazing. And I think I feel like back when we were applying, you didn't get much information unless like colleges came to your high school and kind of like gave you a brochure and, even there's not really internet. None of that stuff is going on. And like, now I just, I hear about different programs for like scholarships where, there's just so many out there that people don't know about. I love that. Now there's just so much out there to help kids go to that next step that just wasn't around back then. And this is even more amazing because it's in the arts, which I feel like probably a lot of parents, unless they're in it too, don't fully understand it. So these kids need a place to go and they need the guidance and they need the help to get them there. So I think that's amazing that you're doing that.
When did you graduate high school, Jen?
2000.
2000. Okay, yes. So I graduated right after you in 2002.
Okay.
But I am older for my grade. So I was always a year or two older than everyone else in my grade because I got held back in pre-kindergarten. And that is a story I could spend hours on, but I won't. Because I was the only kid who didn't eat paste like it was Thanksgiving. I remember looking around being like, what am I doing here? Anyway, so I was 18 before senior year started. And we had internet, but we couldn't really Google the schools other than to know like, maybe when a due date for the application was. Right. And that was kind of it. Otherwise, we had to, look in the white pages for like NYU.
Yeah.
Hello. Tell me about your school.
Exactly. Exactly. I was a PR major and I was just talking to my husband. He's known on this podcast as Mr. DIllo the other day about just like press kits and how back in the day, like when I was going through college and learning about them, like I had to call the companies, try to get them to send it to me in the mail and all that. And now it's like completely digital. I would have no idea how to do any of it. It's crazy what's happened.
And I think it's for the better too. Like I am definitely embracing of the digital age.
Yeah.
I don't think that we've lost a lot. I really, really don't. Because even before the digital age, I was like, hey, guess what? Cursive is stupid.
Yeah.
I hope I never do this in real life.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Print for life.
Yeah, right.
You should see Jen's handwriting and stuff.
It's just
Sorry for another time also.
Small, that's all.
Drew, we're gonna have to have you back, but in the meantime, why don't you plug all the stuff, your TikTok, the college audition, just run through the gamut, and then I think we should also take maybe one. I have one question for Drew, but I think we should take it offline to our Patreon page, and we'll ask.
Oh, good, because I have another follow up for over there too. So maybe.
Well, the answer is 5'3" on my resume. Real life 5'2". Okay, so you can find College Audition Pros on the Facebook. We are College Audition Pros. That's where I interact with the parents, because as I learned from teaching 8th grade, old people, meaning people over 20, are on Facebook. Everyone else is on the Instagram, where we are also College Audition Pro. And we are, our website is simply College Audition Pros. Right now we are building our summer intensive. So you were listening to this in the late winter, early spring. In late July, we have 10 colleges coming in. The heads of the programs are going to be working one-on-one with you, including Michigan, Carnegie Mellon, Texas State, Missouri State. Broadway star Jessica Vosk is doing a Broadway masterclass. It's a week of awesome learning, and right now it is 40% off, even while you're still listening to this. And then I'm on TikTok. I'm Drew Boudreau, Boudreau. I make Broadway funnies, and I also make some videos where I try and promote College Audition Pros, and TikTok does not like that, and those are limited to 9 views.
That's awesome. Drew, this is awesome because, I'm always like reignited after I talk to you, because you're always such a go-getter. But we'll take it over to what we call DillosDiz Resort, which is our Patreon page. It's a virtual destination for exclusive content. Just want you to know, Drew.
Thank you.
Until that time, that's Drew Boudreau. She's Jen. I'm Frank. Bye-bye.
Deuces.
Theme Park Thursday with DillosDiz, featuring Frank Cardillo and Jen Cardillo Snyder. The theme was composed by Matt Harvey. The intro and the outro was performed by Lindsay Zarugian. The DillosDiz fact checker is Mel Dell. You can follow DillosDiz on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok at DillosDiz, Dillos with an S, Diz with a Z. You can like DillosDiz on Facebook, facebook.com/DillosDiz. It's also there. You'll find the Forever 44 Fedora Club. Join the Facebook group. You can also subscribe to DillosDiz on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DillosDiz. That's where you'll find the Parks and Monorail's most magical hour every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. DillosDiz, the Morning Monorail podcast, together indefinitely. You can also check in as a guest to the DillosDiz Resort. Go to DillosDizResort.com to see our membership levels. DillosDiz.com for more information. We'll see you real soon, and that real soon is next week for Theme Park Thursday with DillosDiz. The Improviser's Guide Network 2021.